Greetings, it's Reverend Dr. Aliah again, continuing our journey, social emotional learning. I'm going to talk to you some more about social emotional learning, and in particular about cracking the codes of caring. So we're now on video number 3, and the key word for this key practice is meaning. So meaning, in this regard, is about understanding the values that each of your students hold. Now that's a really big task, to really think about understanding the values of all of your students, that each of them have different values and you're going to understand what they hold. So I just want to let you know that this is a concept that you're going to work on over time. You're going to gradually discern your students' values by creating those platforms we talked about in practice number 2. Those avenues, so that they can tell you their story. And when they start telling you their story on those platforms and those avenues, then their values will come forth in a natural manner. They'll tell you what their values are in those stories. Now, it may also require you to be creative and even invent ways for your students to get in touch with what is important to them. Values simply mean what is important to each of us. So you're going to allow them to speak to you and each other about what's important. And in doing that, you're going to capture certain values. So in this area, your students may need to look to you to see if they really have permission to tell the truth. I think you know what I mean when I say that. Because sometimes young people don't know if they can tell you the real deal, right? To tell you their truest truth. And what's important for you to know is that it's not just that you say that they have permission. Like everybody in the room, you have permission, you can tell your truth, tell us your stories. You don't do it that way. Or you can sometimes. How they get the understanding that they have permission is through your warmth, is through your gaze, the way that your eyes meet theirs, is through the gestures of your hands. I like to gesture a lot with my hands, but students watch that. It isn't just that they see your hands moving about, they feel the energy behind that. That's also a part of social emotional learning. So both verbal and nonverbal messages, all of that will matter. So now we're going to get into the specifics of key practice number 3, which is about meaning. So meaning is also about understanding their values, but inspiring their values too. Your students will especially be hungry right now for significant ways to engage. As human beings, we tend to thrive when we feel that our life has meaning and purpose. Can you think about that? I mean, really, when I think about that, I feel like that's a universal truth. And it has been said that inspiration can bring forth our genius. So what you want to do is inspire students to see their truth, to see their values. So inspiration is another way of saying that what matters to you is something that you're aware of. And a way of capturing that is when you listen to someone else speaking about their personal values and you have resonance with that, and a chord is struck within you. Somebody talks about something. Sometimes it's a book you read, sometimes it's a movie you watch, sometimes it's people speaking. We have all heard someone say something that we resonated with and got a chord struck within us, and we found ourselves wanting to learn more from that person or wanting to know more about that topic, or also wanting to do more in that area. So that's what I mean by inspiration. You might also find that something that you really care about, you're thinking about it, right? And as you think about it, a light bulb turns on in your mind, and you come up with a bright idea. That means that it probably means something to you that's important. It may be expressing one of your values, and it's certainly something that you care about. This is what inspiration does. It gives you bright ideas, it strikes chords within you, right? And it flows more easily when something captures or reflects your students' personal values. So giving them things to consider, to contemplate, because meaning is about asking the question of what is important to me. So how might you find out what their values are? The easy answer, of course, is that you can ask them, but they probably won't tell you. But the thing that you really want to do is, once they do tell you, tell them that you understand. I'm going to give you some 3 steps in the roadmap so that you can have some tools to have them be responsive to the question of what are their values. No direct questions are necessary. You're just going to set it up, set the context so that it comes forth naturally. So here we are. We're at the 3 steps roadmap for practice number 3, which is about meaning. So the first step is this. You're going to be informed by what you already have noticed about your students, from connecting with them authentically and letting them know that you see them. You're going to also be informed because you've introduced things that they've cared about in your classroom, lesson plans, or activities. So it's going to be up to you. So I want you to just stop for a second, because I want you to each week or each time that you're doing lesson plans, or at least periodically, to think about, if I present this particular lesson, how will I inspire students to know that there's something in this lesson that might be important to them? So think about things that are in, for example, the news of the day, or that's going on in the community, or that's going on in the school. You know, there's just so many things that people have values about, but bring current affairs into the classroom. Bring things that have been on the news in the classroom. Not always the depressing things, but the things that are uplifting and inspiring. So key practice number 1, or the roadmap for key practice number 3, is setting it up so that values come naturally, because you're talking about things that matter. So here's step number 2, and I hope I didn't confuse you a few minutes ago. This is not going to be perfect, right? Because I'm a real human being here. What I was trying to say is that the roadmap number 1 is providing them with some content to respond to. And here's roadmap number 2. The key practice is where inclusion comes in when we're talking about meaning. Now, what does inclusion mean? It means that you feel like you're welcome in the world. Inclusion plays a big part in meaning. So make it a point to incorporate things from other cultures, other people's backgrounds, right? Not just the backgrounds that are obvious and not just mainstream. Incorporate things from LGBTQ plus values. Incorporate things that are from as many thought-provoking ideas and as many non-traditional things as you can, okay? That's when you start to see where young people's values are, when you start talking about things that are maybe out of the box. So here's the 3rd step on the 3-step roadmap for the 3rd practice, which is about meaning. So share 1 or more of your own values or things that represent meaning in your life, and invite the students to provide you with kind, I want you to know what I mean when I say kind, reflections to you on the subject that you're talking about. And also encourage them to give you respectful, so kind and respectful feedback about that topic. And I want to just throw in again about the Museum of Tolerance. MOT is an excellent resource to enable your students to delve into their history and the history of the United States. Right now, it's a perfect place to find out what's happening in the social arena. So you'll find out more about the Museum of Tolerance and our new exhibit, which is called Social Lab, in your study guide. So I'm now done with key practice number 3, which was all about meaning, and there's one more. I'll see you on the other side.